Freelance writer and novelist who spoke out about Don Cherry's comments. She joins me today from Toronto. Christine, thanks for your time. I want to show our viewers the tweet that you sent about your grandfather who served in World War II. Tell me a little bit about that.
So my grandfather was Syrian and Lebanese, and he was a member of the Loyal Edmonton Regiment, and he fought in the infamous bloody Battle of Ortona in 1943 for the Canadian Army. And when he finally came back to Canada, he was deaf in one ear. He had shrapnel on his back and an extreme case of shell shock. And so for me, whenever I hear any sort of talk about how Canadians who don't look like what Don Cherry wants them to look like aren't patriotic, or they don't support our troops or our veterans, it really gets my back up, because I am a Canadian and my family has a long history in the armed forces, and we are of an ethnic minority. And it's unfair to suggest that anyone who doesn't look like what Don Cherry wants us to look like isn't patriotic or supports our troops.
Yeah, because it is in Christine, the last part of your tweet talked about how you don't think he should be whitewashing, as it were. Is whitewash war heroes? Is that what you think he was trying to do? He certainly made comments about immigrants not wearing poppies, and obviously those were, there's not a lot of error to misunderstand what he said. But do you really think he was trying to whitewash war heroes? Because he has been very supportive of Canada's veterans, which include people of all sorts of ethnicities.
Absolutely. Well, I think you and I know that the armed forces have many different ethnicities in there. I question if Don Cherry actually recognizes that, because I think what he said was actually a racist dog whistle. He doesn't have to come right out and say that the troops look a certain way and are from a certain religion or ethnicity. But this is a case of where, when you look at communication, you have to read between the lines. When you say, in his speech, he said the word "you people." Now, that is an infamous dog whistle that many times has been used against Blacks, First Nations, anybody of an ethnocultural minority, and that's the language that he chose to employ. So I don't think there's actually much room there to debate whether or not he was actually, whether or not he meant white people or whether or not he meant ethnic minorities. I think it's quite clear.
And so, we've heard Ron MacLean apologize. We've heard the company that runs and airs Hockey Night in Canada apologize. We've heard apologies from the NHL, but nothing from Don Cherry himself. What do you think should happen?
Well, first of all, I'm not entirely quite sure why we still need Don Cherry as a commentator on Hockey Night in Canada. He has a long history of making inflammatory remarks such as this, and I think the fact that he hasn't, come out and said, you know what, maybe I misspoke, maybe I shouldn't have said that, I've listened to what viewers had to say, and I've changed my views. The fact that he hasn't done that, I think, speaks volumes. I think Hockey Night in Canada, hockey in Canada specifically, is very diverse, and the show Hockey Night in Canada doesn't really reflect that diversity. I think we could probably use a new host.
Christine, I appreciate you coming on. Wish we had more time. Christine Estima, freelance writer and novelist. Her tweet regarding Don Cherry's comments went viral. Thanks again for coming on today. I do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right.